您好，我是光启社的社长马萨阿基，欢迎您收看这一周的罗马主场 Rome Report 新闻的。首先，我们来看，在全球面临新冠状病毒肆虐与蔓延的当下，许多教会的弥撒与聚会活动都暂停举行了。教宗方济各在3月份的祈祷意向，特别邀请全球的信友为中国大陆的天主教友祈祷。愿在中国的教会能够坚持忠于福音，增进合一。
Hoy día en China, la Iglesia mira hacia adelante con la esperanza. La Iglesia quiere que los cristianos chinos sean cristianos en serio y que sean buenos ciudadanos.Deben promover el Evangelio, pero sin hacer proselitismo y alcanzar la unidad de la comunidad católica que está dividida. Recemos juntos para que la Iglesia en China persevere en la fidelidad al Evangelio y crezca en unidad. Gracias.
3月初的罗马气温异常骤降，而教宗方济各染上感冒，但他仍然出现在圣彼得广场，带领大家诵念3中经。这也间接破除外界一度谣传教宗也染上了新冠肺炎的谣言。教宗说，他虽然感冒了，无法参加今年的退省，但他会待在家里，在精神上跟教廷上下同心。他也会在家里和大家一起祈祷，做神修操练。
Despite feeling a little under the weather, Pope Francis kept his usual appointment with pilgrims gathered in St. Peter's Square for the Angelus. He asked those present to pray for the Roman Curia during their spiritual exercises in Aricia, which the Pope usually attends.
Purtroppo il raffreddore mi costringe a non partecipare quest'anno. Seguirò da qui le meditazioni. Mi unisco spiritualmente alla Curia e a tutte le persone che stanno vivendo momenti di preghiera facendo gli esercizi spirituali a casa.
Pope Francis reflected on Jesus' 40 days and nights praying and fasting in the desert, where he was tempted by the devil 3 times. The Pope said Jesus' steadfast responses and adherence to God are an example of how Christians should face temptation.
Gesù non dialoga col diavolo. Gesù risponde al diavolo con la parola di Dio, non con la sua parola. E nella tentazione, tante volte noi incominciamo a dialogare con la tentazione, a dialogare col diavolo. Sì, ma io posso fare questo.Ma poi mi confesso, poi questo, quell'altro, mai dialogare col diavolo.
Pope Francis asked Christians to stay attentive, to avoid falling into the devil's alluring temptations of alternative paths. He said the farther one grows from God, the more defenseless and helpless one feels in front of life's existential problems. The Pope also expressed his concern for people suffering the ravages of war in different parts of the globe.
Sono un po' rattristato per le notizie che arrivano.Di tanti sfolati, tanti uomini, donne, bambini cacciati via a causa della guerra, tanti migranti che chiedono rifugio nel mondo e aiuto.
Pope Francis said this situation of displacement has worsened notably over the last few days, likely referring to tensions in Greece and Turkey exacerbated by increasing numbers of Syrian refugees. He thus asked Christians to continue to pray for those affected.
教宗方济各回应去年10月的全球主教会议所做的几项决议和提案，在今年的3月初最新颁布的宗座劝语“亲爱的亚马逊”没有允许已婚男性领受圣制，使得私夺独生的争议因而平息下来。教宗也强调，未来应该加强平信徒的角色， 而非提倡让已婚男性领受夺职，或是让女性担任执事或司铎。
In addition to resolving the question of priestly celibacy without opening the door to the ordination of married men, the exhortation Beloved Amazon includes many other fundamental issues for the region and for the whole church. The Pope insists the sacraments must be accessible and regrets the lack of the Church's presence in the region. Therefore, he reinforces the role of the laity rather than promoting the priesthood for married men or clericalizing the role of women with the female diaconate or priesthood.
The response
of the Synod and the Apostolic Exhortation is to see the range of possibilities and potentialities we have not yet taken advantage of, and above all, to encourage the bishops to send missionaries to the region, to encourage the formation of deacons and the development of other ministries that make the Church present among peoples, even in the most remote regions.
Beloved Amazon underlines the Amazon peoples have the right to have the gospel proclaimed to them. He says if they do not, each ecclesial structure will become just one more NGO. Pope Francis is clear, saying do not quickly describe as superstition or paganism certain religious practices that arise spontaneously from the life of peoples. He says it is possible to take up an indigenous symbol without necessarily considering it as idolatry. The Pope asks not to culturally colonize the region, but to help her make the best of herself. Therefore, he insists those on the outside should not fall into stereotypes and avoid unfair generalizations, simplistic arguments, and conclusions drawn only on the basis of our own mindsets and experiences.
The first thing is to remove the prejudice against indigenous people. There is the idea that indigenous peoples are permanently the same without ever changing. The communities are alive and have their own proposals.
On the other hand, the Pope invites these peoples to protect themselves from a cultural invasion. At the same time, he asks they don't become a completely enclosed, ahistoric, static indigenism who refuse all forms of integration. He describes injustice and crime, national and international initiatives, as those which harm the Amazon and fail to respect the right of the original peoples to the land and its boundaries.
Do they still want more land? We had so much, but now we have almost nothing. Yet they still want to take more. They want to take away the land and kill us. The Peruvian government see these populations as a necessary evil, as second-rate populations abandoned in a territory that must be exploited. For them, they are unprepared and incompetent people.
Therefore, he asks for rules that set limits and ensure the protection of ecosystems from the huge global economic interests. He says the solution is not internationalizing the Amazon. At the individual level, the Pope proposes a change in lifestyle and consumption models. He invites everyone to learn how to contemplate from indigenous peoples, because on many occasions our God-given aesthetic and contemplative sense is blocked. Beloved Amazon unites caring for Amazonian peoples and caring for their ecosystem. The Pope warns that if they are separated, the life and beauty of the Amazon will be destroyed, even though people would like to keep thinking nothing is happening. Pope Francis invites everyone to listen to the wisdom of the indigenous that inspires care and respect for creation and prohibits its abuse. The Pope wants the Church to be at the forefront of caring for Amazonian values and lifestyle. He wants it done with total transparency. That's why he asks to pay special attention to the provenance of donations, as well as to investments made by ecclesiastical institutions or individual Christians.
而在更早之前，教宗会见了圣座公教教育部的成员。这个在梵蒂冈教廷的部门主要负责推广以及协调教育倡议，而这个部门同时也应教宗的指示，将在5月14号举行会议，并且组成全球教育契约。
The Pope met with the Congregation for Catholic Education, the Vatican body which promotes and coordinates academic initiatives. It is in charge of organizing a conference taking place May 14th at the request of Pope Francis. The goal is to form a global educational pact.
Il patto educativo non deve essere un semplice ordinamento, non deve essere un ricucinato dei positivismi che noi abbiamo ricevuto dell'educazione, dell'illustrazione. Deve essere rivoluzionario.
Pope Francis says education is a dynamic reality, a movement which brings light to people.
Una proprietà dell'educazione è quella di essere un movimento ecologico. È una delle sue forze trascinanti verso l'oggettivo formativo completo. L'educazione che ha al centro la persona nella sua realtà integrale ha lo scopo di portarla alla conoscenza di se stessa, della casa comune in cui è posta a vivere e soprattutto alla scoperta della fraternità.
He said one of the main qualities needed to promote the Global Educational Pact is courage, to reach the pact's objectives, put the person at the center, serve the community, and pay educators properly.
2019年2月反性侵峰会闭幕，而梵蒂冈采取了几项的措施，包括摒弃缄默的文化，与地方当局合作，关心受害者，提高意识和触觉。而在反性侵峰会届满1周年之际，教宗方济各召集全球各地所有主教团的主席，让他们聆听受害者的证词，并反思他们在教会和社会中的责任。
After the Sexual Abuse Summit in February 2019, the Vatican released 3 sets of responses, one in March, one in May, and another in December. The first step was making it obligatory to report any type of sexual abuse, be it of minors or adults, in dioceses, religious congregations, and the Vatican. Bishops and superiors were prohibited from imposing silence on victims and witnesses. The summit also led to a clarification of the legal procedure for denouncing and prosecuting bishops. Each diocese was asked to designate an office specifically for receiving reports of abuse. Most importantly, the papal secret was abolished after it was determined a perfect tool for cover-ups. The papal secret would be the equivalent of a civil government's state secret. Bishops could use it to avoid collaborating with authorities or simply to remain silent when convenient.
The pontifical secret was an obstacle more than anything, which impeded effective communication between the parties involved in the process. This included victims, lawyers, and the accused, and made it difficult for them to obtain the necessary information for a fair trial.
The bishops are now required to collaborate with civil justice authorities. Nevertheless, there are laws preventing bishops from reporting pedophile priests. The decision to share the committed abuse is left to the victim's parents or guardians.
There are some countries where if a bishop is told of a crime of this nature, he's legally obligated to go to the police. There are other countries where if he goes to civil authorities, he can find himself in a very serious situation. There are countries where reporting is allowed, but only by motion of the party. They say it has to be the parents, the family, or the victim, but not just anyone can report. The Catholic Church unfortunately can't make an all-encompassing rule. There are 200 countries, each with a very different legal situation. Moreover, there are victims who want to be protected and not exposed. In some countries, including in the West, the legal process can make a victim relive the trauma by making them recount the abuse. I'm following the case of a person who suffered abuse 40 years ago in a country near Italy. The person is experiencing post-trauma by having to talk about what happened. This is difficult even for a strong person.
The Pope approved new legislation to guarantee medical, psychological, and spiritual help to victims and their families. In order to prosecute abusers whose victims are adults with physical and cognitive limitations, the definition of vulnerable person was broadened. The Vatican extended its reporting time limit. That way, victims can report the crime up to 20 years after having turned 18. Hans Zoller was one of the summit's organizers. Today, he is very committed to the fight against abuse in the church. He says that after the 2019 meeting, he has noticed an increased sensitivity in parts of the hierarchy. Pope Francis gathered the presidents of all the bishops' conferences in the world. He had them listen to victims' testimonies and reflect on their own responsibility in the church and society.
I saw it with my own eyes. I've traveled around the world over the past 12 months. I've visited many countries and various continents and met with lots of bishops' conferences and general chapters of religious congregations and orders. I see that after the summit, there's another level of awareness and sensitivity.
That's why the conference marked the beginning of two actions. One is the revision of legal norms. The other is an attempt to change the mentality between different levels of the hierarchy, to avoid any new measures from remaining empty words on paper.
圣座册封圣人部庆祝50周年，圣部成员获得教宗私下接见，而这个部门同时也开设了一个新的网站 cosisd.va。目前这个网站只有意大利文，而当中介绍了册封圣人的程序，由个人的声望、圣德到教区及梵蒂冈的册封程序都巨细无遗。
It's been 50 years since the beginning of the Congregation of the Causes of Saints under this name. To celebrate, the congregation not only had a private audience with Pope Francis, but also launched a new website, causesanti.va. Cardinal Becciu, prefect of the congregation, says this online presence makes them more relevant.
Today we're in the middle of easy communication in common for everyone, and communication at your fingertips. Adults use it, and above all, young people. So today, if you want to know something, you just have to click on the web and immediately you have the article.
Similarly, the website, currently only in Italian, explains the process to become a saint, beginning at the fame of the person to the diocesan phase to when it arrives at the Vatican. Each phase is explained in depth. Cardinal Becciu says the website makes his life easier since the process for every potential saint is updated online. Everyone can see if the cause has reached the congregation or even the Pope yet.
I don't have a great memory and I can't remember each saint, so I say look at the website and you'll find everything there.
Articles in the processes of venerables, blesseds, and saints are continuously being updated. Right now, blesseds date back to 1664 and saints to 1934. The process is one they have undertaken to make saints and blesseds available to everyone in the palm of their hand. In this way, as Cardinal Becciu says, they can inspire everyone to live their faith courageously and become the saints of today.
为了让儿童亲近福音，帮助小教徒学习，最近有一本儿童版的天主教教理出版了。教宗也为他撰写序言。教宗说，教理非常有用，可以解答人生最大的问题：我为什么存在？死后会发生什么事？
UCAT for Kids is a tool to help young Catholics learn. The book answers questions in colorful and meaningful ways to help children understand deep concepts, including the world and everything that exists, the creed, sacraments, and commandments. Bright pictures illustrate the pages to maintain their interest as it follows stick characters that demonstrate the meaning of the text.
If you have kids and your parents, I for example have 4 little kids, of course you think about how can I help them to come into life? You try to give them the best you can. You look for education. You fulfill all the things they need to live, like food, clothes, and things like that. So I think the best to give them out of a Christian view is, of course, to make them friends with Jesus, because this has an eternal worth.
UCAT for Kids also has a special edition, a preface by Pope Francis. The Pope says this catechism is useful when answering life's biggest questions, such as why do I exist and what happens after death.
What's very honoring for us is that the Holy Father, Pope Francis, gave a preface for the book and really encourages, tries to invite families and parishes to work with this.
The book is great for families and parishes who want to teach their young how to connect with Jesus and create their very own Christian life. It begins a relationship with God that continues into life.
最后向您介绍已经出版2集的福音升阶经集，这是将礼仪经文结集谱上原创乐曲的书本。它除了提供有关礼仪各部分的神学讲解，而另一方面也因为弥撒圣乐传统逐渐式微了，所以就有人发起编辑这一个项目。
The Graduale Polyphonicum is a collection of liturgical texts set to original music. The book also includes theological explanations of the parts of the liturgy. The idea for the project came about when its authors noticed a loss of the sacred music tradition at Mass.
Within the liturgy, there is a continuing loss of reference to these texts, which have been compiled, composed, thought out, and structured to accompany the faithful throughout the entire liturgical year. As a result, we chose to opt for an Italian translation of all the texts, a transcription from the 4-line staff to the pentagram, and finally, a polyphonic rendition of all the pieces. The text is there and it comes from the liturgy. It's been given to us over the centuries. There's also the Gregorian music. Now I can choose to compose freely, following my own inspiration from the given Latin or Italian text, or I can choose to base my composition on the Gregorian chant.
The hope is that this combination of traditional and new music will help even young people appreciate the richness of sacred music.
We often reduce beauty in order to reach young people. However, someone who spends 8 hours a day with the youth will tell you that young people have a desire to rediscover that which is beautiful. Even today, there are infinite possibilities to do beautiful things for the liturgy, with Latin, with Gregorian chant, with sacred music.
The Graduale Polyphonicum focuses on parts of the Mass whose texts change weekly, for example, the opening and offertory hymns, as opposed to fixed texts like the Kyrie and Sanctus. This gives the musician several options for each Mass celebration. There are currently 2 published volumes and others in the works. The goal is to eventually provide music for the entire liturgical year. Perhaps this project can inspire similar initiatives in additional languages.
感谢您收看这一周的罗马主场 Rome Report， 在节目的最后带您观赏 Hello 教宗 Oh My God 节目的精彩片段。我是光启社的社长马绍阿基，祝福大家平安喜乐，我们下一周再会。
台湾和梵蒂冈虽然相隔千里，但其实很近。教宗方济各和台湾人没有距离，关心这片土地，走入人群与社会。哪里有需要就往哪里去，这是亚洲首次结合教宗生活言行的节目。
本节目由光启社、媒体福传以爱还爱影音工程计划赞助。2020年耶稣会士南怀仁传需要您捐款赞助，详情请洽0227712136光启社。